First of all, the elephant in the room, which is Declan Rice. That was quite divisive online. It was weird to watch it unfold. And I don't know, obviously, when I was watching him score the first free kick, I thought it was an amazing free kick. Anybody that watched Roberto Carlos score that goal for Brazil in Le Tournoi will know what I mean. When it just went so far wide, you thought there was no way it was going in. The second angle was brilliant. I don't think it was as good as Payet's. Wasn't as good as Payet's against Palace, but it was really impressive. And obviously at that point, you didn't think he was then going to score another. I can't remember. I know they were giving stats during the game. I can't remember anyone scoring 2 free kicks like that in the same game of football. And then the second one, I actually thought the first one was better, but I do understand why people thought the second one was better. Anyway, I thought, you know what? I don't want Arsenal. I do not want Arsenal to win the Champions League this season. I don't want them to win any trophy. I find their fans online insufferable. They really are. But I was I was pleased for him because I like Declan. I think he's a good guy. And I think when you look at what's happening with Trent Alexander-Arnold, maybe even Mo Salah and Van Dijk, but particularly Trent Alexander-Arnold at Liverpool, I'm not unhappy with the way that he left. And I think West Ham probably did quite well to get £105 million for him. And the £5 million is interesting because I think we agreed £100 million in 3 instalments. Then the £5 million was £2.5 million if they win the Champions League, or £2.5 million if they win the Premier League. But he could have left in worse circumstances, had to be said. And I think, bearing in mind, the only real competition that West Ham had for his signature that Arsenal had for his signature was Man City. And Man City were only willing to bid 80 million. So I'll never understand why Arsenal didn't just go, well, do you know what, in which case we'll bid 85 and then be done with it. So I think, all things considered, it worked out. We got a European trophy out of him. He probably stayed for a year longer than he needed to. I was pleased for him personally because I like him. I think he's a good guy. What was weird was to see, so some people online saying, "Oh, quite pleased for Declan," and they were getting sort of shot down in flames. But then there was other people saying that it was sickened them to see him do well. I think not so much him do well, but Arsenal do well, and they were getting shot down in flames as well. And then you got all the Arsenal fans. So we should have paid 200 million and all that stuff. But I thought they were great goals, and it was quite funny because of 3 or 4 days ago, David Moyes had said that people laughed at him. He said they laughed at me when I said 150 million. He said, I think Arsenal still owe me 50 million. I don't know who works that one out. That's not how it works, Moisey. If that was the case, then they would owe West Ham the 50 million, not you. Anyway, that was quite interesting. But yeah, I mean, amazing free kicks. And but that'll do me. I don't want... If Real Madrid could beat them 4-3, I think I'd be quite happy with that. But yeah, anyway, I wasn't here to talk about Declan Rice. Kyle Walker-Peters, apparently West Ham are right at the forefront for this player. He turns 28 next week. And we've already discussed this week about, the exodus and the number of players that West Ham are probably going to have to get rid of in order to bring players in. But if we're canny, if we're clever with players coming in and get with these free transfers, then there are... Do I think we're going to get Jonathan David, Angel Gomes and Kyle Walker-Peters? No. I think we'd do really well if we got one of them because they're all good players. I know a lot of people have certainly think that because Southampton are getting relegated, that, you don't ever get a player from a relegated team. I'm not so sure. I don't think that's the case with Walker-Peters. I don't think it's the case with Liam Delap, and I think there'll be other players as well who are decent enough players. And Walker-Peters... Well, he's played twice for England. I think he's a really good player. And it was really interesting watching it in the summer because we were very much in for him in the summer. And Southampton, we were negotiating with him. Then they slapped this price tag on him of £25 million. They weren't willing to do any deal with Flynn Downs or anything like that. So at that point, that was us out because he only had a year left on his deal. Totally defend Southampton's right to do that. They wanted to keep as strong a size squad as they could to stay up in the Premier League. It's not worked, and the player's going to leave on a free. But I also totally understand why we would walk away. I think, well, we're not paying 25 million for someone we can have for nothing in 12 months' time. We bought Aaron Wan-Bissaka instead. The rest is history, because very much for most of... Well, it's not just a transfer window, is it? You start discussing this stuff towards the end of the season. So towards the end of last season, And then into the transfer window, it was a case of either Walker-Peters or Wan-Bissaka, with a little sprinkling of Mazraoui thrown in there. I think that was a smoke screen, and probably worked out for West Ham probably a lot better than it did for Manchester United. But anyway, those were the two main contenders. And once we got one, then the other was sort of dismissed. But if you look at him this season, Walker-Peters, he's played really well on that left-hand side. And it's not just a defensive role. He's played on the left wing. He's played at wing-back, left or right. I think we'd be mad not to get him. I really do. I really like him. I think he's an excellent player. And I think it'd suit us down to the ground. And is it bringing down the average age of the squad? No, but I don't think that matters if you're getting a free transfer. It really doesn't. Let's be fair. Nicholas Füllkrug's age has become less of an issue, hasn't it, since he's become not injured anymore and started scoring goals. Certainly, I think the majority of people want this guy to stick around. So you don't suddenly drop off a cliff in your 30s, that's for sure. At 28, free transfer, I really do. I think it's a no-brainer. And I think it'd probably suit Potter's style of football. I think it probably suits what we're looking to do at left back or left wing back, or even someone to fill in on left wing, particularly if he, was interested in yesterday's comments on the video. There's a lot of people, not a lot of pushback on Mohamed Kudus leaving. Not a lot. I would say probably more comments yesterday, probably saying that Kudus should leave. There was not too many saying, no, we've got to do everything we can to keep him. But if he leaves, then obviously we are going to be one wide player short. And I think if we're just playing with a formation that we finished against Bournemouth, then you'd probably say, well, maybe Somerville and Guilherme can sort of dovetail and keep that role between them. And looking at the output of Kudus, certainly this season, you'd think that I think Somerville should be able to exceed that. Not sure about Kudus at his best. Anyway, my point is that Carl Walker-Peters can also play there. We'd have a lot of double-barreled surnames, wouldn't they? We'd have Walker-Peters, we'd have Wan-Bissaka, and we'd have Ward-Prowse, possibly. I think we'll keep Ward-Prowse. But the other thing is he allows us to, when Potter plays with that three at the back and wants the wing-back, he can play at left wing-back, and, of course, Wan-Bissaka can play at right wing-back, and it still allows Ollie Scholes to continue his education and to continue learning. So I don't think it's either or. I don't think it's a case of that cut and dry just because we've got Wan-Bissaka means we don't want Walker-Peters. I think it'd be a big asset to the squad. Anyone that can play in more than one position is an asset to the squad. And of course, you could throw Wan-Bissaka into that as well. Do not rule out Wan-Bissaka being in a position where he can play at right centre-back. And by the way, earlier on today, the club completely rubbished any talk that there might have been. I think it might have this wrong, and apologies if I do, might have been Martin Allen that said that Jean-Claire Todibo has had a falling out again. This time with Graham Potter. He'd obviously quite a public falling out with Julian Lopetegui earlier in the season. The club have said, no, that's not the case, not at all. They would say that, wouldn't they? It's weird. I don't know why I would believe one and not the other. I believed the Lopetegui one. I guess we had evidence, didn't we then? I don't really believe the Potter one. Everything you hear back from the players and from the coaching staff that Potter's a very likeable character. Everyone gets on with him. It's very harmonious at West Ham at the moment. So I don't think so. I'm not entirely sure that would have happened. But let's say, for argument's sake, that was the case. And even if you don't think that, even if you don't think that Todibo has had a falling out with Potter and is going to leave, his fitness is questionable, isn't it? So I do think there's going to be times next season when Aaron Wan-Bissaka is going to be playing at right centre-back. So again, I just think there's plenty of games. I think you bring Carl Walker-Peters in. I think he plays at least 30 Premier League games next season, which is reason enough to bring him in. As I understand it, the deal was already agreed. You trawl back through, I don't know, archived stories from the summer, you'll see that he'd already agreed a deal with West Ham, £75 million. So I think that's already agreed. I don't mean a £75 million transfer, that won't do it, each week. £75 million each week, which I think is okay. I think in today's standards really is. It's okay, and it's one other player we don't need to buy. Obviously, there'll be a signing on fee, but Emerson's going. I am certain of it. And I did my run through of the players the other day, and I said that in that video. I am certain, as certain as I can be, without being Emerson himself, West Ham, or Emerson's agent. He's off. He's going, as certain as I can be. So we're going to need a left back anyway. And I don't. Ollie Scholes ain't ready to lead that position all season long. And we know funds are going to be limited, so we're going to have to cut our cloth. And I mean, one thing we've not really discussed in any form of detail on this channel is goalkeepers. I think ideally West Ham would like to change a goalkeeper. I'm not sure we can. But I just think if you are going to look to do that, and you're going to do, we've already ascertained there's 10 to 12 players who are going to leave. Now, that doesn't mean 10 to 12 need to come in, because, well, I'm sure as you know, George Murphy last night got another man of the match performance, a very, really late win for Bristol City against West Bromwich Albion, put them up into 5th in the Championship. He got man of the match in the previous game as well. Generally looked decent, but I think there's a possibility he may come back and be a squad player. Same with Freddie Potts and things like that. So do West Ham need, if we get rid of 10, do we need to sign 10 players? No, we don't. We can probably fill 3 of those positions with academy players, which I think is right. If we can fill another couple with free transfers, we've only got to buy 5 players. So I think there's sort of the maths does stack up a little bit there anyway. But yeah, look, it would appear that we are the front runners, which is nice. It's nice to hear it. For so long, West Ham are lagging behind in trying to get some of these other guys, like Angel Gomes. Our bid is nowhere near what the Gomes team are looking for. So it's nice to hear for once we're at the heads of the queue. Carl Walker-Peters, I like him. Let me know what you think.